So the first part of the presentation will be the Dynamics AX Runbook. The Dynamics AX Runbook is a PowerShell script that has been unified into a format that makes it easy for you to manage a lot of your elements in AX. Dynamics AX comes with tools like AX Util, other PowerShell script that can help you manage your system. What I've done is to encapsulate that into a form that makes it easier for you to do various stuff. You will see how I can stop and start AOS services in the right sequence, making sure that everything opens up. You can see how I can open the application in various layers. You will see how I can reboot a server. You will see how I can deploy reports and web parts. So these elements doesn't really seems to be very why should we do these things? What is actually the meaning? It's very easy. Yeah, for some of you it might be easy, but for a lot of the implementations around the world, we see a need to simplify and unify these things. On top of this, the construction of these scripts will make it easy for you to actually put in your own scripts so that you can manage whatever thing you want to do around the Dynamics AX application the same way. And it would notify, it would overview whatever you do, and it would be easy for you to hand over a lot of the efforts that you're doing with Dynamics AX deployments to a support team or to a less qualified team, not in a negative sense, but because they simply does not know the architecture and the technical elements of Dynamics AX. So watch out for the demonstration in Dynamics AX Runbook, and I hope you will enjoy it.
Welcome to the presentation of a Dynamics AX Runbook. Dynamics AX Runbook is a PowerShell tool that is offered through the Smart for You concept. Now the tool is a free tool, as it is an open source tool, and it has been developed by some MVPs and some technicians that have worked with Dynamics AX for many years. Now the tool is simply just a PowerShell application that you open up. In this case, I open it up using a remote app. Now I can open this PowerShell application several times, as normal remote apps can be opened several times. But also I can open up the runbook with several configurations. So in my case, I have now 3 configurations. So basically it is 3 environments. But I could open up another runbook with another configuration file that has 3 other configurations. So a typical scenario would be you have a runbook for the production environment, you have a runbook for the non-production environment. So in this case, I have the Smart for You environment, and I have a deployment environment, some test environment. As you might notice, in the environment ID 2, there's a little hash mark, and this hash mark indicates that this environment is protected by a 6-digit code. This 6-digit code will be split up in 2 3-digit codes and sent to 2 different persons, so that if you have an environment where you want to be SOX compliant, so that no one user can operate on the system without another user accepting it, or another user kind of giving his concurrence to do that, you can use this small hash mark feature. Now what I will do here is I'll try to enter the environment ID 1 and the Smart for You, and it will show the environment listed, and it will go like in 3 seconds. It will actually now list out the environment. So the environment is defined in an XML file where you actually define the different elements of your environment. So that could be DIXF, AOS server, web servers, websites, report server, client machines and stuff. And for each of these types, there are various features available for you to execute on top. So obviously, when you have a Dynamics AX environment, AOS server is a pretty vital system. And you also know that if you have a problem with your application, If you restart the application from scratch, so stopping the service and starting the services, a lot of times this will solve your problem. Now you can do that. So by saying, I want to stop listed services and reset application, or I'll say restart listed services, as you can see in the, so you can see in number 4 menu item, you can restart listed services, and they will actually restart all the services. It will not restart the client services because the client services doesn't have any service to restart. So the system will know that client machines doesn't have services to restart. But what it will do is that it will stop it in the sequence number and it will start it in the reverse sequence number. And basically that makes sure that everything else, you stop all the kind of external systems before you stop the AOS server, and then when you start it up, you start the AOS server so that you know that all the AOS server is started correctly before you start all the other services. Now let's try to filter a little bit, because you can actually filter here. So you can say, I want to see my AOS server and my reporting server. I can say filter AOS semicolon SSRS, and it will show you these two types. I could also say that I want to show all the environments that are in the sequence number 900. So let me clear my filter. Then I will say filter 900 and something. Sorry, filter 900 and something. And it will show me all the 900 servers. So you can combine these things. So you can say I'll filter the 900 servers. Sorry. So you can set your filter to multiple frequencies. So you can say that I want to filter 303, 800, all the 800 and all the 900 servers. So let me try to filter 303 semicolon, all the 800 servers, semicolon, all the 900 servers, semicolon. This should show you 303, they're all the 800 servers and 900, and then you can kind of restart these services. So that's the filter function that you can use in your system. Now, so that's obviously a good idea to filter these elements out if you want to restart a set of servers, not only one server. So when you stop the services, it actually only stops the service. But if you stop the service and reset the application, as you can see in the menu item 2, what happens is that the AOS server is actually going to be cleaned up. So let me try to say the BIS AXV BIS. So that is my number 101. So let me filter that. So this is the AXV BISTOC server with the OData on it. So let me actually take the one that has the AOS services on it. So that must be the 903. So filter 903. So this filters out that AOS service, and then I can say stop listed service and reset application. So let me try to do that. I'll stop the services and I'll restart that. Stopping the services, that's the normal thing. It stops the service. It now deletes the XPIL folders. It deletes the label files. It clears the caching, and then the services, the AOS server is started again. So now if I start up another runbook and show the environment, you should be able to see that the service is now in a stop mode. Okay, it's red. So I can now start the services again, So I'll just say start listed services. If I say start listed services here, because all the other services are actually started, it will only start the one that is stopped. But I'll just stop, I'll just filter that service out, and then I'll say start the service. And it will show up. So let me so you can see it's the starting services, and if I open up an additional runbook, it would actually be possible for me to see that this service is now in the starting mode. So it will appear yellow instead of red because it was stopped, and then it will or green because it was running. So I can see here that this actual service is actually something that is worked on. Now, if these things happen for you, and you want to see the event log on a machine like AXV-BIS, you want to see the system information. So you have a Microsoft support engineer on your support call, and he needs to get this information. You can go into this runbook and say I for system information. And then you have to tell which server, again, 903, that's my AXV-BIS server. It will show the information. What it will show is the basic information here that you will actually see. But if you hit enter and you enter a mail address here, other than your own, obviously, but that could be a support engineer from Microsoft, it could be somebody else. Hit enter, and what we will see in a minute, hopefully, a mail will arrive to me with the system information on this from this server. That's a neat way to get that system information, send it over to the Microsoft engineer, so that he can look into that event viewer. And in that event view, we should be able to see that the AOS server was stopped and started and all these things, because we actually just did that. Another thing that you could do is that you could reboot the machine. So that's a little bit more intrusive. So let's try again. Now this is on 903. And because it's a little bit more intrusive, we've implemented a pin code that is centrally set up for each environment. So yeah, you can actually delegate a lot of things, but rebooting, somebody needs to have that pin code because it's a little bit more delegate. You could have other services that the support engineer did not know of on this machine, so that you cannot just reboot the machine. So we implemented the pin code, and we implemented a kind of an extra layer of security. Do you really want to do this? And let's say yes, and then the system and the server will actually reboot the machine, and that means we will see that the machine is, as you can see here, it cannot find these elements because the machine is actually rebooting currently. Now a mail popped up. Let's see what that was. Another mail popped up. So the first mail that popped up was the function server reboot has been executed. So that's nice to know that I have, at this point in time, rebooted this machine. The other mail that popped up was the system information, and the system information told me something about the server, about the disk format, security, and also who has access to the system and what software is installed. And more importantly, it actually attached the event log extracted from that machine, and this event log should show us exactly here that the Microsoft Dynamics AX server was rebooted at some point in time. So this gives us the opportunity to actually get that event log out of the system, and this is what I think is a nice and neat feature, because it actually gives us really good information and a really easy access to that information. So we can filter the event log just like we know when we get it exported, and then we should be able to see all the information here. Okay. Now, in that runbook, also we should be able to see information about our website. Now let me just refresh the screen. I think the BizTalk server has been rebooted. So we will actually see that now the OData services is running again, and you'll see that the BizTalk service is not running. The reason it's not running is because it's part of the AOS service check. This is another video recording that you should attend to. So my AOS services is actually in manual state, so they will be started up by a service check that runs behind the scene. Now, another thing that you might have run into is you want to be able to manage your enterprise portal in a nice and neat way. And there's a menu item called Website Actions here. So in my web server, or in my enterprise portal, and let me show you where that is. This is the one. Now what you see here is my enterprise portal. So what I want to show you is how I would deploy a new code on the enterprise portal. Now one of the important things of the enterprise portal is that actually it has to run in order to deploy. So how do you make sure that your enterprise portal can run externally without a user accessing it, but you can still deploy on it? And the way that I do that is setting it into maintenance mode. This means I'll replace the external URL with a link for the maintenance page side. This is built into the runbook. So now I'll go in and say Website Actions. Now I know my enterprise portal is placed on a server called AX-vendor. So this is the sequence number 303. So this is the website where I actually run that enterprise portal for currently. So I'll enter my number 590066228. That's the ID of the website. Obviously that was a wrong enter, so let me try again. Website Actions 303 5900 5900 66228. Enter. So what it says is that my maintenance side is actually stopped. So as you can see, it didn't show the maintenance side because it's kind of out of scope of the sites. And I can do different things. I can stop the sites, this site. I can restart the site, but I can also set this maintenance side, activate the maintenance side. So let me try to do that. So when I activate the maintenance side, I can put in a build number. This is information that kind of shows on the maintenance side. So I'll say Smart for You demo. I'll have a start time and an end time, and then I'll hit enter. And what actually happens is that if I go back to my enterprise portal and I hit refresh, the maintenance page pops up with the information that I actually gave in that almost square box, so that the end user knows that there is something going on behind the scene. But if I go back here, and you can actually see up here that my vendor portal is still running, so I can now deploy. So how do I actually deploy? So what I do in deployment is I go into the action menu, and I'll return back to the action menu later on, but there's a script where I can say EP web parts deployment. So I'll hit that button, and the system will now give an opportunity for me to deploy elements on various servers. And in this case, my deployment script is pointing to my backend server, where I'm checking if this website is actually running. So it's a part of a multiple installation, and then I'm able to actually do deployment on my servers while the system is running and in maintenance. Okay, so with the web menu action, website actions, there is some built-in functions where you can do elements on your website. The same thing is going to happen on the client side. So now, the thing is that when you have clients, typically terminal servers, then you need the information obviously where they are. So in this case, I've configured my terminal servers as my client. It could be local machines, physical machines, if you have your client installed on physical machines. Doesn't really matter as long as the service account that we're running under actually has access to do the same thing as on a terminal server. Now, what the client currently does is that it lists the AEX applications, the AEX installations, as you can see, and it actually verified against that version number that you might have seen in the beginning of the demo, where it says AEX version. So if it finds a mismatch between the version number, it will show up red. So in this case, it indicates that my terminal server 02 was not upgraded on the client side to the latest version of AEX. So the menu AEX client actions is currently in this version now, where we are building on it right now, is currently empty. Now what it's going to be able to do is it's going to be able to disconnect the users from client machines. It's going to be able to clean up the sessions and the caching file and the profiles and all these things, in order for the support team to be able to actually manage the end users' problems also on their own machines, for that matter. And obviously, if you want to reboot a client machine, you have the same options. So you can actually reboot, if you set it up, the local machine, the physical machine on the end user. You can reboot his machine if needed. Okay, now before I go down and show you that action menu, I want to show you another feature that's called Start Current Application. So this feature actually originates from the fact that a support team often needs to access the AEX as a specific user on a specific AOS server, maybe even in a specific layer, in order to investigate and troubleshoot. So using the Start Current Application feature, you have three options. So the standard just opens up the application natively as it is out of the box. Advanced gives you an opportunity to actually open up the application in whatever layer that you have configured it to be able to open up. So in my case, I have configured it in var and cos. I'll be prompted for my password. I'll get back to that prompt in a second. But what you actually can see is that my AEX application opens up here in that actual var layer. The system actually supports also to be able to open up in a specific model. This is something that we sometimes use when we have an application where it's important that the user always remember to enter the correct model. For instance, if they're doing secure development, DIEXF or something label file, something where you have a specific model to work with. Now another feature here is that you can open it up on a specific AOS server, because you want to make sure that the demo or that the investigation that you're doing for your end user is actually done on that specific AOS server that he is or she is working on. So let's open up the AXV-BIS AOS. So that is again 903. So I can say specific AOS server. Then I can say I want to open up this AOS server sequence 903. And it gives you this prompt. And this prompt actually makes it possible for you to enter the user's login, and if you are so lucky that you have Skype or another share tool, then you can give access for that user to enter the user's password. So when you open up the application, you actually open up the application as this user, which is very, very beneficially, because now you are actually on that AOS server that he's on with the problem, you're on as him, so you can now start to investigate the problem as this specific user. Okay, now these were actually the presentation of the default features, and obviously we're working on it on a monthly basis. There will be more and more features put into the tool, but one of the other things that is very important is the action menu. The action menu gives you an opportunity to put in your own tool in the same context of this user. It's very, very simple to create it, and the tool comes with a template that you can actually start out from. Now we have created many tools, many scripts, so many various scripts that we have used, throughout a long time. We have added them into the system as shareware. So we can, from a top list here, report deployment, web deployment, full system backup, model store backup, toggle full maintenance mode. I'll get back to that. It's coming back to that AOS service check that I actually talked about a little bit earlier. Then there's some actions that happens inside the AX batch user, journals, logged, data refresh, and many, many more scripts that we haven't even added in here. But I can imagine that you already have a lot of scripts, and this could be so many different scripts. It could actually also be script that has nothing to do with AX in that manner. But every time you do these things, you kind of doing them in this context. So one simple thing that seems to be very tricky to do if you want to do something in your application and you're uncertain what happens, and you're doing some DIEXF import, export, whatever, and say, oh, it would be nice if I had a system backup exactly at this point. So you execute the backup database, you give it a tag, demo, and the system will back it up. And you don't have access to the SQL server. You don't have access to those central folders where the normal backups are placed. So you cannot, back up and restore, back up these things. But now you have an opportunity to actually go in and execute this backup to some shared folder. So if something goes wrong, then you at least know that you have a backup from this specific moment. So obviously, where do I use this normally? I use this here when I do deployment. So whenever I deploy, the first thing that I actually do after I've stopped the AOS services and all the services is do a full system backup, so that I don't rely on the nightly backup to be the one that I can return back to if something goes wrong, because that nightly backup would probably bring me my application 3, 6, 10, 12 hours back, and obviously if I have a full system recovery set up on my SQL server, I can get back up with the log file. But it's basically just a pain in to do these things. So now again, the email you might see is just popping up that somebody did this system backup, and thereby again, there's a full history log on what you did and when you did it, so everybody knows it. So being able to do these things and being able to add your own scripts. Just abort this here. Being able to add your own scripts into the tool gives you this opportunity to extend. And our hope with this tool is that whenever you extend with something, you know, smart, fancy, you will actually give us the opportunity to implement it in the tool by sending us an example or a good idea or the actual code, and then we will try to implement it in the tool, so it's kind of a part of the basic standard tool that everybody else can use. So I hope you like this. You're very welcome to contact us through Axazure or through Axwise. Doesn't really matter where you from which where you contact us. And then if you're interested, we can actually also help you, you know, set it up and do all the things for you. So thank you very much.